and I want everybody who is sitting here to be excited about the bus. The bus is a big thing. It's a huge, how many seater bus? 60-seater bus. It's massive. When you see the design of the bus, which we'll share with you hopefully next week, you'll see how big branding the bus is. It's a moment of truth. And we all need to, as leaders in the newsroom sitting around this table and planning this, need to buy into this concept of the bus.
This right here is our election bus, and it's going to be going to 8 provinces, and we are essentially giving a voice to ordinary South Africans.
If you ask me what my favorite part of eNCA's election coverage 2019 was, it has to be the election bus. This is something that we have seen in other big democracies around the world, where we not only take the brand, the news brand, to the electorate, but we have an opportunity in real time, in obscure places, for us to engage with the real issues on the ground.
The idea around the bus was for a big branded eNCA bus to travel the length and breadth of South Africa and to give South Africans an opportunity to be on national television. The bus is something iconic. It's something that for me stands out about our election coverage, and that it was a great marketing tool for the station as well, for this massive 65-seater bus to be traveling through South Africa. People on social media were tweeting about, oh, we saw the eNCA bus just drive past us on the highway, and that's ultimately what it was about. It was about a massive, big marketing campaign that we took on the road, a moving billboard throughout South Africa.
It was quite interesting what they told us. They are paying.
Our 2 anchors at Kolya Mgambi and Yuveka Rangappa, I think, did the most magnificent job. Arriving somewhere in South Africa in this great big bus, decamping, making sure that it was prominently placed, the excitement of residents when they saw this big vehicle beast arrive, and then sitting down and dissecting and discussing the real issues that impacted on this. Let me just say that that was our effort at making sure that we didn't only cover urban South Africa, the cities, in other words, the big conurbations, but also to make sure that we gave the rural parts of South Africa a voice as well. I think if I look at our entire election coverage, that's the one thing that excited me most. I still get excited when I see in my mind's eye that big bus. I love the bus. I want to do it again.
8 cities.
2 anchors giving a voice to South Africans.
Public reaction when we arrived, when the bus arrived in different areas, was firstly one of curiosity, especially in areas where, people don't have TVs or they don't watch TV. And even if they do have television, they're hardly ever watching news. And then, some people's confusion who did know us going, what's happening here? Why are you here? Why are you here on this bus? And what's going on in our community that we don't know about? And then after chatting to them and telling them that we were there to chat about elections, people started to get a bit comfortable. And then in areas like Mitchell's Plain, we saw people flock. Everybody wanted to be on TV.
Every time when people see the bus, they would just flock to the bus. So they want to see what's happening. And I remember going to Helen Vale in PE, Port Elizabeth. I had kids, coming to see the bus. It was fun. It was great seeing those kids with those little eyes, look at me, I'm here. I want to see what's going on inside.
People seemed to know us in some areas, and other areas where they didn't. They came out to find out who we were, and they wanted to chat. They wanted to be on TV, which was great.
eNCA, by doing this whole initiative of Election Pass, actually opened my eyes that there's a world out there beside Gauteng. It was great. I got to go to the beach for the first time. Oh my goodness, that was dope. For someone who has never been out of Gauteng and then going to Orania, which was thought to be a very daunting place for people of color. I was scared, but then excited at the same time. It was great. It was awesome. I had fun in Orania. That's my highlight.
The highlight of my bus experience, wow, I think there were so many. I'm going to whittle them down to a few. I mean, just being on the bus itself was a wonderful experience, being able to see parts of the country from that perspective, not just flying over somewhere, but being on a bus. That was the start of what was a wonderful trip. And then I got to speak to gangsters in Port Elizabeth. There were moments of fear, there were moments of slight panic, but just moments of pure honesty as well, where I got to see little kids who have been drawn into this world of gangsterism, and then I've got to speak to adults who have never been able to get out and probably never will be able to get out of those communities. I also had experiences in other provinces which were great. One of them being back in Gauteng when we got to Tshwane and we got to informal settlements where we've heard about white squatters, but we have very rarely had a chance to speak to them. And there we managed to find families of white squatters who live in informal settlements side by side with other races, and they all seem to be living in harmony, which was a highlight in a way that despite the poverty, there was such camaraderie, there was such a sense of community, which gave us hope as well. And then I met many fascinating young people whose stories were completely inspirational, and just hearing about how their opportunities were cut short, and hoping against hope that with those interviews that we did with them, that somebody somewhere would be able to help these young men and women who weren't able to continue their studies. One of them was studying actuarial sciences. He had to stop because he didn't have money, and he's now a part-time taxi driver. But just seconds after we did that live interview, Twitter was just abuzz with people wanting to know what is his handle. Please, can we help him? Can we get him some funding so that he can continue his studies, because he was a maths and a physics whiz. He showed us his matric certificate, and that for me was an experience that stood out because it made this election bus so worth it. Not only were we highlighting the cases, but we were also managing to help people along the way. The importance of getting out to those areas that we traditionally don't go to is that we get to hear some amazing human stories, whether they are sad, whether they are happy, whether they make you angry. There are stories out there that some of us who live in our bubble, some of you who live in your bubble, could never ever imagine that people are living lives like that out there. But they're making it from day to day. They are inspirational as well, and they are just the hardcore truth of what South Africans are going through. And a lot of them are faced with such hardships that many of us will never know, but we got to see it, and we got to meet some of the most unusual people. I mean, we were in gangsterland, but we got to meet people who were just so welcoming, and people who were willing to speak to us, risking their lives, just in the hope that something will change, if not for themselves, for their children as well in those communities. I know that we have to be objective when we do the work that we do, but if we can make a difference, if we can make a difference in one child's life when we do this kind of work, it makes it all so worth it.